friends, it's Amy at Doki Forest, and today is Wednesday. So I am participating in an open collab called #Watercolor Wednesday. And you can too. Feel free to jump in, use the hashtag. This is hosted by Tanya over at Side Gig Crafts. And I will have the information down below so you can check out Tanya's channel, see what she's up to. Check out Watercolor Wednesday, see what other creators are up to. And what am I up to? Well, I stopped at a Dollar Tree yesterday and I just happened to spy one of those bags that's like chock full of random scrap papers, and I just thought that looked really fun to play with. I had seen Tanya on her channel pick up one of those bags and she made a beautiful card with the papers, and I didn't quite know what I was going to do with it, but I grabbed a couple of bags just because I was curious what came inside of it. And it is a really good blend of textured papers and seems like natural papers. They've got like some different bits and pieces you can see in the paper. And I thought I would take some of those pieces and try watercoloring on them and seeing how it looked and how it worked. Because I'm so used to painting on watercolor paper or mixed media paper. And I thought for a little extra challenge, I'll try some of these, and I didn't know if they would come out nice or if the watercolor wouldn't spread very well, and then sometimes you get a lot of lines and blotches and that sort of thing. And the subject today is fairies, because it's spring and things are blooming and blossoming, and I'm always in the mood for fairies. But I figured let's try some fairies on this paper. This paper here is a purple paper. Obviously it's purple. Why? I don't know why sometimes I feel the need to tell you something that's really obvious that you're looking at. And this has kind of like a texture on it, a very small, kind of like a crosshatch sort of texture to it. And it's very thin. It's a very thin paper. So it's not as thin as tissue, but it's one of those things where I wasn't sure if when I go to paint on it, if it's just going to rip and be a little too flimsy. But here we go. We're just going to jump right in and go for it. And I was thinking, because I'm using some dark paper or just non-white paper, I thought it would be really fun to use my Paul Rubens watercolor set that's all shimmery, metallic-y sort of colors. And I thought they might show up really well. They show up well on white paper. So I thought, when you use a darker paper, maybe they'd really pop. And I do really like them. I think they're coming out really nice. But yeah, it's a fairy kind of mood lately. I am thinking I would like to make a fairy journal. I think. I don't have one yet, but I certainly have and am always collecting images of fairies. So I'm thinking I would like to do that. Janet Nash has an amazing fairy journal. I will link that down below. And I know that Possum Patty is getting ready to make her fairy journal. She made the cover and she's putting it together, and then she's going to be using that. I don't think this month. I can't remember. She said it was May or June, but she has a Flowers and Fairies journal that will be coming up, which is very exciting. And let me know if you also have a fairy journal. I would love to know. I would love to check it out. And, Kara might take at the lake too. She said she's doing a dark fairy journal, which sounds super cool. And then, of course, she and I also talk about how we both want to make a Maleficent journal. So speaking of dark fairies. But yeah, I love all the fairies. Dark fairies, earth fairies, water fairies, light fairies, whatever you want to call them. I love them all. And I'm really happy with how this paper is turning out. It's actually letting the watercolor spread. It's not just instantly drying, which happens sometimes and will happen. Spoiler alert on one of the papers. One of the papers was very absorbent. But this one was, not a whole lot different from just your regular paper. And the texture on it is so small, I feel like you can't really even see it. So I just want to add some shading in, give it a little bit of dimension if possible. And I'm leaving her skin tone. I'm going to keep that the same as the purple paper because I will most likely be cutting away the background for the most part. So I thought I would leave the skin tone the natural paper color, and then that way I'll remember what the heck I was painting on when I go to put it in a journal. And usually when I cut things out, there's a border too, so I can see what paper I used. Because when I use my watercolor paper, there's always that white watercolor border because that's just what I like to do. So this one will have a purple border. And I usually edit out most of the times when I pop the heat gun in and use it because it can be a lot when I keep going in and adding like little details and things. So you've got to see it right there. And just so you know, in all my videos, I'm generally like using a heat gun and drying so that way I don't make it too wet and get all messy. But I just usually edit that out because I figure it's not that interesting to watch the heat gun. But yes, I always use the heat gun, and especially before I use this white gel pen, because if I didn't and this paper was still wet, this gel pen would not work. It either just wouldn't write at all, or it could just smear. It is not waterproof. So my ink is waterproof. The black ink is waterproof that I do my sketches with, but this gel pen is not. So this is a last step usually. Of course, I do always tend to go in and tweak things even when I think I'm done. Next up, I am going to be painting on this green paper, which is textured and does seem to have some natural bits and pieces in there. Or maybe it's just a bunch of little pieces of paper that are in there. I can't quite tell. But it's slightly thicker than the purple paper. So we'll see how this goes. And I started off drawing a turtle fairy that had like a turtle shell, but a human head. And then I decided to just go all out and make it a turtle fairy. And instead of a magic wand, the turtle has a magic cat o' nine tails. So this little turtle can definitely be found in the marshes, flying around. I think I'll still make a turtle fairy at some point that has like a human head. I could do a mock turtle fairy too, like Alice in Wonderland. I used to love the picture of the mock turtle with the cow head and the turtle body, but I didn't like that he was crying. It used to make me feel so sad. I used to get so upset seeing him crying, but I loved the illustration. I loved the creature part of it. So I think I will draw a mock turtle or paint a mock turtle at some point. I'll give him a redemption and make it so he's not crying anymore. And this paper is pretty good too. It was absorbent. This one was a little more thirsty than the purple paper. So it did come out a little blotchier, but I don't mind because I don't need things to be neat. I think you probably know that though. There he is. He's pretty much done. And next up we have this blue paper, and this is pretty similar to the purple paper. Same kind of quality to it, I guess. And I thought on this one, I'll have a little dragon fairy. And when I was drawing it, I was thinking that his wings were like leaves and he could fly around. And when he lands on some flowers, he blends right in because he just looks like one of the leaves and one of the flowers. But I don't know what flower it is because I started adding all these colors and he's really colorful. But I guess he knows how to curl himself up just right to camouflage in with whatever sort of flowers he happens to land on. And the blue is a nice dark blue. So it did really show up these shimmer colors. I really like how they look on here. And I did lose a lot of the ink, my original like black ink when I paint with these colors and stuff. But that's okay because I'm just going to go ahead and go over it again with another layer of ink at the end. And there he is for now before I re-ink him. He's looking very shimmery. And then back to the turtle. I decided to add a little bit of gold on everybody. I got out, my Kuretake. Oh my gosh, I just blinked out and forgot what they were called. Are they star shimmer paints? I don't have them right here. But they're Kuretake paints and they're beautiful. Now this next fairy I'm going to create, this is the final one. And this was totally influenced by Janet Nash and her fairies that she was making. And she was ripping bits of paper and putting them on the page and then sketching all kinds of little adorable fairy faces and then arms and legs, and they're so cute. So I thought for this last one I would try a similar kind of thing. So I'm using some more paper that I got from that pack of paper, and you can see that one of the pink ones is just sort of a basic pink paper, and then the other one has the beautiful like raised pattern there. And I thought that would be fun to paint on too, just to see, if it absorbed the paint, if it takes it, how it looks. So just experimenting a little bit. This fairy came out sort of 80s colors. I went with like pink and purple, and then there's like some aqua green, tealy sort of colors. So she does remind me of 80s. And yeah, so I put a little of the green on the skirt there. And I do like how that came out. I didn't want to cover up all the light pink there, but I thought I would just add some touches of other colors. And then even though the paper is really pretty, I didn't want her skin tone to be that off-white sort of color. I think because her outfit was so colorful, her wings were so colorful, I just wanted her to be colorful from head to toe. And then I'm trying to make little shoes for her out of the same paper that I used for the skirt, and she got like a little scarf around her neck. But this was super fun to make a fairy like this. It's such a good idea to rip some paper and make the clothes, and that works for me too, because I feel like I have a hard time with drawing legs and arms a lot of the time. So it's actually like a really nice way to, if you give them pants and long sleeves, you can just use the paper. Now when Janet did it, she sketched the arms and legs, and they're super cute. And she gave them little shoes, super, super cute stuff. So I might try it like that next time. But for this time, I thought I would give a full clothing outfit. And then I'm spattering paint, and it is messy, and I don't mind it. I feel like, she's going nuts with the sparkles maybe. And then I thought I was done, but I decided to go in and add some more of the white gel pen. Then I decided that I wanted to give her some little embellishments. So I wanted her to have a couple of flowers. There's one in her hair. And then I made a little matching flower to go on her skirt, which I was deciding whether or not that was a little pocket. But I just glued it on and I didn't make it official. So here we go. My fairies are all done. I have re-inked them so that way you can see the black ink again, because it gets lost, as I mentioned, with the paint, especially the shimmer paints. So here is our purple fairy. And I cut them out, as you can see. Cut them out from the paper, but you can still tell what paper I was using. And here's our little turtle fairy, ready to cast some magic, or I don't know, maybe he goes into battle with a cat tail. I am not sure. Cat-o'-nine tail is the full name. It's not a cat tail, like a meow kind of cat. And here is our dragon, our little flower dragon, who's flitting around collecting nectar and then curling up for a little nap. And lastly, our, I guess 80s fairy. And so they're all different, and I do like all of them. And I just kept adding a little ink, a little paint, a little white gel pen, a little splatter, until I finally felt like they were done. And then I cut them out, and they are ready for a journal. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.